Hello and welcome back to Artful Minds. My name is Anka, I'm a visual artist and technical art director, and today I'm going to do something a bit different. I would like to review 5 books that I would sell my soul to be able to read again for the first time. For each book that I would like to discuss today, I'm going to give a personal take, fully biased, and I'm also going to read 3 quotes from each of these books to let them speak for themselves. So, let's get started. Book number 1. Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I admit also probably the thinnest book that Dostoevsky has ever written, but it's another reason why it's in my top favorite. I'm actually a big fan of almost everything that Dostoevsky has ever written. I chose Notes from Underground because it's raw, honest. Of course, I would easily say a little bit sad, but sometimes I laughed while reading this book. It has this very powerful way of making you look at the downsides of life from a bit of a different perspective. And it is considered the first existential novel ever written. This book marks the starting point of the sense of meaningless, which really runs through much of the literature of the 20th century. But now, let's allow this book to speak for itself. I'm going to read you 3 of my favorite quotes. Number 1, I say let the world go to hell, but I should always have my tea. Another one of my favorite quotes. I tell you solemnly that I have many times tried to become an insect, but I was not equal even to that. I swear, gentlemen, that to be too conscious is an illness, a real thoroughgoing illness. And the last quote that I'm going to read to you from Notes from Underground is, the best definition of man is a being that goes on 2 legs and is ungrateful. I hope this has sparked your interest in reading this book. Fully recommended. Now, my second favorite book did not only dictate my first tattoo ever, maybe you can see here the word ubik, but it was also probably the book that I annoyed the majority of my friends with, because I really tried to make everyone that's close to me read it. I'm talking about Ubik by Philip K. Dick. Ubik, bona fide of the afterlife and alterations in reality, is a deeply unsettling, existential horror sci-fi story. This book stays somewhere at the intersection between a nightmare that you'll never really wake up from and a dream that you will not even want to wake up from. And I truly believe it's the most mind-blowing book you'll ever read. But as I did with Dostoevsky, I'm going to let this book, Ubik by Philip K. Dick, speak for its own. I'll sue you, the door said as the first screw fell out. Joe Chip said, I've never been sued by a door, but I guess I can live through it. I hope this says something about the type of humor that this book has, but also about the type of unexpected reality, because yes, that was a conversation with a door. Another quote. It did not seem possible that Wendy Wright had been born out of blood and internal organs like other people. In proximity to her, he felt himself to be a squat, oily, sweating, uneducated nerd whose stomach rattled and whose breath wheezed. Near her, he became aware of the physical mechanisms which kept him alive. Within him, machinery, pipes and valves and gas compressors and fan belts had to chug away at a losing task, a labor ultimately doomed. Seeing her face, he discovered that his own consisted of a garnish mask. Noticing her body made him feel like a low-class, wind-up toy. Well, it's a pretty powerful way, in my opinion, to describe falling in love. Let's see the last quote from Ubik. But the longing within him had grown even greater, the overpowering need to be alone. locked in an empty room, entirely unwitnessed, silent and supine. Stretched out, not needing to speak, not needing to move, not required to cope with anyone or any problem. And no one will ever know where I am, he told himself. That seemed, unaccountably, very important. He wanted to be unknown and invisible, to live unseen. I hope this sparked some curiosity. I truly, deeply recommend Ubik by Philip K. Dick. And if you're new to sci-fi and the works of Philip K. Dick, I can give you some really popular names. Blade Runner is based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, a really powerful novel by Philip K. Dick. Man in the High Castle, which I think is now a Netflix series. And Minority Report, a pretty famous movie featuring Tom Cruise. It's such a sunny day and I decided to pick another one of my favorite books, which is pretty dark, very honest, 90% based on real historic facts. A really powerful and extremely visual book, The Twist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. So yes, as I was saying, the author took some freedom to make some parts fictional, but from my understanding, it has like a percentage of like 90% historically accurate and 10% fictional. It's a book about hope, obviously, as you can tell, happening in the most hopeless place. I'm gonna read you 3 quotes from The Twist of Auschwitz. The tattooing has taken only seconds, but Lael's shock makes time stand still. He grasps his arm, staring at the number. How can someone do this to another human being? He wonders if for the rest of his life, be it short or long, he will be defined by this moment, this irregular number, 32407. Politics will help you understand the world until you don't understand it anymore. And then, it will get you thrown in a prison camp. Politics and religion, both. And of course, my most favorite quote, because I truly believe in the power of being thankful for what we do have in our lives. If you wake up in the morning, it is a good day. So that was Heather Morris with The Twist of Auschwitz. Book number 4, Clara and the Sun. Clara and the Sun is a book that plays with the dichotomy of light and darkness. Clara's perspective changes over time, and we walk with her as she matures throughout this story. Just like any normal human being would. However, here's the sketch. Clara is not a human being. She's a robot. As per usual, Kazuo Ishiguro is a master of feelings and character building. My other favorite book from him is Remains of the Day, and I also truly love the movie that was made after it. However, let's get back to Clara and the Sun. I'm just going to straight dive into reading the quotes for you. And I'm actually going to start with my favorite quote from this book, which is about how would you describe a human heart and what it means to truly get to understand the human heart to a robot. But then suppose you stepped into one of these rooms, he said, and discovered another room within it, and beside that room, another room still. Rooms within rooms within rooms. Isn't that how it might be? Trying to learn Josie's heart? No matter how long you wandered through those rooms, wouldn't that always be others you'd not yet entered? I think that's truly powerful. Second quote that I chose from this book. Until recently, I didn't think that humans could choose loneliness, that there were sometimes forces more powerful than the wish to avoid loneliness. And the last quote that I chose from this book. Hope, he said, damn thing never leaves you alone. And that's so true. I can totally subscribe to that. Hope never leaves you alone. Be it sometimes a good thing, probably most of the times not such a good thing. However, we are now at book number 5, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. I have here the edition from Penguin Classics, honestly just because I like the cover so much. This is the best edition because it also comes with some small doodles. So yeah, if you are interested in buying this book, honestly, try the Penguin Classics edition. I think it has an added raw, authentic vibe to it through these small sketches. So, Ken Kesey's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a book about rebellion and power. In a world in which control is absolute, one man, namely Randall McMurphy, brings a challenge, brings an opportunity to try to explore freedom. And this comes together with both light and chaos at the same time. Through the eyes of an observer long resigned to silence, the narrator of this book, we observe and witness the collapse of control, the collapse of order, and the cost that freedom brings. And ultimately, I believe that this is not only a book about freedom and identity, I also truly believe that this is a book about friendship. To the point that this friendship that I'm talking about becomes so strong, it transcends words and generates, in the end, a simply, let's just put it like this, because I don't want to give any spoilers, a simply impossible choice. In case you don't have time to read this book, though, it's a very different experience, but the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is also a really great movie, so I can recommend it also. Now, let's not forget about the 3 quotes. So I chose 3 quotes from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Also, let me walk you through them. All I know is this. Nobody's very big in the first place, and it looks to me like everybody spends their whole life tearing everybody else down. Another quote. This world belongs to the strong, my friend. The ritual of our existence is based on the strong getting stronger by devouring the weak. We must face up to this. We must learn to accept it as a law of the natural world. The rabbits accept their role in the ritual and recognize the wolf is the strong. In defense, the rabbit becomes sly and frightened and elusive, and he digs holes and hides when the wolf is about. And he endures. He goes on. He knows his place. He most certainly doesn't challenge the wolf to combat. Now, would that be wise? Would it? And the last quote. We'd just shared the last beer and slung the empty can out the window at a stop sign, and were just waiting back to get the feel of the day, swimming in that kind of tasty drowsiness that comes over you after a day of going hard at something you enjoy doing. Half sunburned and half drunk and keeping awake only because you wanted to savor the taste as long as you could. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and let me know in the comments which books would you sell your soul to be able to read again for the first time. Until next time, take care, and again, if you have any other book that you'd like me to make a review of, please let me know in the comments. Take care!